All right, so today we're going to talk about high pass filters and why they are important for you. And I'm going to demonstrate this on a bass track since most of what I do here on the Worship Blender video page tends to be mostly geared towards bass players. Not that it's completely just for bass players, but since I've been doing a lot for bass, I will do a bass track. And high pass filters are important for when you're doing a recording like I've got in front of me here. But it's also good for live work. It's actually very good for live work and for recording. So in either circumstance, using a high pass filter is a great thing to do because it'll clean up your sound. It'll make things just sound a whole lot better and more clear, and improves the quality of a mix, makes a mix sound much more, well, you can hear all the parts a lot better. It's a lot less muddy. And so anyway, I'll show you here. And also bass is a good instrument to demonstrate it on. So I'm going to play a song, and I got some tracks got some tracks online that I downloaded of a popular song from the 70s. You'll probably recognize it when you hear it. And I took out the bass track and replaced it with my own bass track so I could play an unprocessed bass so that you could hear what it sounds like without a high-pass filter. And then I'll demonstrate how using a high-pass filter then impacts the sound. So first here, I'll go ahead and play the song, some of the tracks here. You probably recognize this song. I'll turn up the bass a little bit. And let me go ahead and solo that out. Now, what we're going to see here is, if I go ahead and turn on, this is an example of a high-pass filter right here. Actually, it's got high-pass and low-pass filters. Now, the thing to keep in mind here, let me turn this off, is that a high-pass filter, in this case, I'm using it for a bass. Don't confuse the terminology. A high-pass filter could also be called a low-cut filter. It doesn't, just because it's called high pass doesn't mean that it just has to do with high frequencies. Actually, that has nothing to do with it. It just means anything over a particular frequency will pass through, and anything under that particular frequency will get cut. So in this case, I've got a high pass filter right here on this plugin, and I've got it, do we have it on? There we go. Now we've got it turned on. So I had it first off. So if I turn the high-pass filter all the way off, here it would be here. If I go extreme on it, you can hear how that sounds awful, of course. So the idea is that we're cutting out the really low rumbly frequencies and anything under a particular frequency. So we're pretty low right here. Even though it's called a high-pass filter, we're actually pretty low in the frequency range. We're at 70, roughly, well, let's see, around 70 hertz right here. We can go up a little higher, and then you'll start hearing more of the bottom drop out the higher that I go on the high-pass filter frequency. Obviously, that gets too high. So the kind of what you want to do is you want to use your ear to find out where is it cutting the boom, and all the muddiness. When I say boom, the rumble, where it cuts it, and then where you don't want it to cut into the actual good tone. Another way, what I'll do is I'll open a different plugin, which will give you a little bit of a different visual demonstration here. So let me back up a little bit, start playing. All right, so this is an EQ that'll give us a better visual representation of what we're doing here. So I'm actually creating a high-pass filter. So anything above this frequency range right here, which looks like 54 hertz, and above, passes through no problem. You can see the bass. Now if I take it back out again, you can see this area. If we can get that out of the way. Let's move that out of the way there. But you can see this area right here. These are frequencies that are playing from the bass, and this is going all the way down to 20 hertz. And you probably don't need that because that's just the mud. So when you cut it, you can see it dropping that down, and it'll clean up that tone. Let's do a reverse. Let's actually do this. A reverse and do a low pass filter. So see, there it all is there. I'm going to cut it back. So let's just hear, if I was doing say if I was around 70, 80 hertz, anything below that, this is what I would have been cutting before. And of course, the song would be over, or somewhere in the middle. Okay, there we go. So that's basically what we're cutting out of the song, or of the bass track. So as you can see, it's just really low, muddiness. And if I unsolo this track, you can still hear it muffly behind. So now if we reverse this, putting that muddiness back in, you can kind of see where these frequencies are kind of dancing here, so that kind of helps us get a visual kind of where we want to be, and then use our ears to tweak it. And that's basically it. That's a high pass filter. It just helps to clean up your mix. It's not something where you're going to apply a high pass filter and everyone's going to say, "Wow, that sounds great. What'd you do?" It's more something that just gives a better overall cleanness to a mix. It's something that most listeners aren't going to hear whether it's on or off. It's just, you're going to notice it, and the mix is going to notice it. And when you're using a high pass filter, not just on the bass track, but on other tracks as well, your overall mix continues to get better. If you do any kind of mixing at all, you know that it's not just one magic bullet that you do. It's a sequence of things, one after another, that all compile to make an excellent mix. And high pass filters are definitely one of those things that is a good key ingredient that can really help clean up the mix. So definitely look into it if you're playing live. If your sound guy's not doing a high pass filter on the board and you're playing bass or another instrument, then see about getting a high pass pedal, some type of high pass filter pedal, which you can get in a pedal format. Or, maybe it's built into your amp, or maybe if you're playing keyboards, you've got some type of EQ that you can use to create a high pass filter. So anyway, just wanted to show it to you because it is very handy at getting you a better, cleaner mix.